All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Gonna let everybody in. Give them a couple minutes to join us. I'd like to remind you, everybody, if you're not speaking, please keep yourself on mute to avoid background noise. I'll give everybody a couple minutes to just see as we have people joining us here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dana. Gonna give everybody a couple minutes to jump in. I know there's some people still coming in. And, right. Right, I think we're gonna give it one more minute. I know our session's supposed to start at 10:10. So we're just gonna give it one more minute in case there's more people joining us, making sure that everybody has good, they can hear us, they can see us, and they're connecting their audio. I'd just like to remind the audience and all of the participants that are joining us, welcome to BIZCON 2020. We're going virtual this year. We're gonna start with some housekeeping rules. If you're not speaking, please make sure to mute yourself so that we can prevent any background noise. As many of you know, we're all working from home or we're working remotely somewhere, and sometimes background noise can prevent the main speaker to be heard. So please make sure you stay on mute. And should you have any questions, please make sure you use the chat box on Excel events. You'll be able to see, as well as the all of the different panelists will be able to see your questions. My name is Elaine Rodriguez, and I'm Program Manager at BIZCON Exchange, Small Business Development Center at the LA Area Chamber of Commerce. We're very excited to have everyone here this morning. On behalf of the LA Chamber and on behalf of BIZCON Exchange, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this sunny Wednesday morning. I think it's feels like summer already here in Southern California. And as Kathy mentioned, and as Maria mentioned this morning, we might be apart, but we are not distant from you guys. We're still, working fully with all of you, and we're working really closely with all of our different small businesses to make sure we bring you all the tools that you need. So again, thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for joining us on today's session, which is leveraging small business tech tools to adapt, pivot, and thrive. And once again, we want to thank our sponsors for making today possible and making sure that we are bringing all these tools to you guys. To help us kick off the session, I'd like to introduce Max Siegel, who has been with Shopify since 2018. He provides support to Southern California-based businesses of all sizes. Shopify has been a great partner to a lot of small businesses, and we've seen them really get into action across Southern California. Max has a BA from UC Berkeley and an MFA from Chapman University. In his free time, he takes photos and he attempts to learn to play the bass. I don't know, maybe he has to show us some of those skills to see how those are going. And he spoils his adopted cat. And as we mentioned earlier, we were chatting about how our pets are now making appearances on all these virtual meetings because this is just part of our new normal. So thank you, Max, for joining us. And I'll let you get started.
All right, thank you so much, Elaine. All right, so my name's Max. I'm here from Shopify, and I'm just moderating this panel for our lovely panelists here. So we're just going to introduce everybody. So let's start in alphabetical order. So Diana, could you introduce yourself to us, please?
Hi, everyone.
Thank you all for having us. I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation, especially making sure that everyone here knows how to leverage all of our tools and resources that we have. I am Diana Dukas from Facebook. I manage our economic impact work on the policy programs team. I have a long career in democratic politics before coming to Facebook, working for President Obama as the director of the White House Business Council, and also had time spent at the SBA. So small business issues are near and dear to my heart, and I'm really excited to be here to join this conversation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Jeremy, how about you introduce yourself and tell us what you do at Microsoft?
Business directly in the LA area. I have a team dedicated to support our local small businesses through all the different products, services, and initiatives that Microsoft delivers. I've been on Microsoft for almost 8 years now, and during that time, I've really been entrenched in the local Southern California. We started in Orange County and now Los Angeles. I'm excited to share the resources that we have available to you, as well as all the things that we're from.
Okay, I think there were some technical difficulties there, but I think we'll go on to Roberto just for a quick second, and we'll take care of that. Roberto, feel free to introduce yourself. Okay.
I don't think we can hear you. Can you make sure you unmute your?
How about now? Can you hear me now?
That works perfectly. Yep.
Okay. So my name is Robert Martinez. I'm a Google digital coach and trainer. Been with doing this work with Google since 2017. And my job is to bridge the digital divide and help diverse small business owners grow their presence and learn how to use digital tools and services that Google provides free and paid to help them leverage digital marketing. Specifically focused on LA, but I do travel across the country to bring these tools to our small business community. Been doing this in some capacity since 2005.
Cool. Thank you so much. And Jeremy, I think there was like a audio breakup. If you could shortly introduce yourself again, that'd be fantastic.
I'm gonna go try with no video. Is that come through better?
Yeah, it's definitely better.
Okay, sorry about that. Network issues, part of the new normal, right? So my name is Jeremy Easton. I'm a business sales specialist with Microsoft. I work based out of the Los Angeles community, supporting our local small businesses with a dedicated team. I've been with Microsoft for about 8 years now. I'm supporting the Southern California region, and really excited to engage in a conversation about the products and services that we have that can support you, the initiatives we've developed over the last few months to help small businesses, as well as all the things we've learned from you as small businesses.
All right, just a quick reminder to mute yourself if you're on the channel, since we can hear you. Thank you. Sorry, Jeremy. I think you're just finishing up there.
Yeah, just excited to be here and share all the things that we've learned from our local small businesses during this time and all that we've grown. We often think that tech companies, we have all the technical answers, and we're learning just as much right now in this new way.
Got it. Yeah, and actually that leads us into our first question, which I'll open up to anyone, which is like, how has your company, your respective companies changed and pivoted to adjust to this digital world? Because speaking for Shopify, we kind of had an office-based, hub-based setup, and now we're moving to a digital-first setup. So curious to hear how everyone else is adapting as well.
Yeah, I'll jump in there. So
Cool.
We've been notified about a month ago that we are going to run all our future trainings remotely, and that all Google employees, vendors, and temps are going to be working remotely. We've implemented this until the end of the year. We don't know if anything's going to change between now and then, but it's definitely safety first. We want to make sure we take care of our own and help them understand the need to be responsive to the current situation that we have on the ground. So which in turn allows us to have a lot more presence. As a matter of fact, we're doing way more now in regards to workshops and webinars than we did prior to the current challenging times with COVID.
Yeah, there's definitely some silver linings there. Yeah, Diana, do you have any changes that have come to Facebook or experienced any changes there?
Yeah, I would echo that. Obviously, we've all been working from home and or from wherever you are, trying to make sense of it all and dealing with, you know, dog interruptions and anything else. And we're all getting a little bit more understanding of each other's situations. But the COVID crisis, and of course, as Roberto said, safety first. Facebook has had us home or wherever we are since the beginning and plan to do so and have some flexibility again through the end of the year. But it's also allowed for us to kind of rethink how we operate in the future. And so about a couple of weeks ago, Mark Zuckerberg actually announced that we're going to be kind of expanding this idea of remote work. And where we've decided to start is with our recruiting. And so instead of, because we're all so flexible in terms of being able to work from across the country or across the globe, we are now going to look to recruit outside our major hubs or data centers. Obviously, there are some jobs that will require a on campus or in office approach, but we really are going to start seeing how else we can diversify and bring in additional talent by allowing people to work remotely or from anywhere other than where our larger offices are. So it's an exciting experiment and glad to see the company leading in this way.
That's awesome. Yeah, it feels like time has sped up in terms of because I feel like we were heading in that direction, and now it's kind of come sooner than we all might have expected. Jeremy, what about you all at Microsoft?
Yeah, to your point about the acceleration, it is definitely something real. When we look at how Microsoft worked prior, we definitely have some remote workers who work from home and things like that. But generally speaking, most of us, and then we also have our retail stores. The retail stores experience the biggest shift. As we know, malls around the world have closed down, and many are still just barely getting open again. So the retail teams did an incredible shift where they've been supporting our large enterprise customers with trainings on things like Teams and other Office products. We've created tons of virtual engagements for students. As we know, many of us have students that we suddenly became full-time teachers for over the last several months. And so we know that we need to engage in new ways that we had in the past. While we had the technology that allowed for it, there wasn't the need like we see today. So that's some of the ways we've shifted. We've also shifted in our product. We learned early on in some of our teams, people want to see faces now in a Teams meeting. In the past, we didn't come on video very often. We kind of hid ourselves. We talked and we shared, but we didn't go on video. We learned really quickly that in a school environment where there might be 30 students, the teacher wants to see their faces. When we have the inability to meet in person, we want to see faces and connect in new and meaningful ways. So our product team has been accelerating as well to keep up with this new demand, really innovative. And I think innovation is something we're seeing from all industries. We can now get food delivered to us that in the past we would have had to rely on some smaller companies like Uber Eats and things like that. Now suddenly you can get almost anything imaginable delivered in minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And actually that leads us to our next question, which is really how can we pivot and help small businesses, which I think is a reason a lot of us are here today. Yeah, and if anyone wants to jump in on that, like how do your platforms, how are they adapting to help small businesses in these times? That'd be great.
So I'll jump in because actually today Facebook launched something called our Summer of Support, which is a 6-week module and consistent training and with educational resources and interesting talks with Kevin O'Leary and other celebrities and entrepreneurs themselves, but really setting across a 6-week educational platform for small businesses to partake, to learn how to better transition your businesses. What does it take to become offline to online? And so we're really looking forward to sharing that all with you. And I know in our virtual booth in the expo with you all, we have some links to that. So I hope everyone gets a chance to at least join us for some of that during these 6 weeks. But something that we've been doing is one, transition. Roberto said this too. Certainly transitioning all of our trainings that were in person online. And so we traditionally have something called the Boost with Facebook programming and training, where traditionally we would go across the country and host hundreds of small businesses together, and we'd go over the latest adaptations and changes in our tools so that small businesses know how to really harness the power of our platforms. Obviously, we can't do that right now. And so we have transitioned all of that online and are working really closely with local and national associations and governments as well, to make sure that we are getting those resources into the hands of small businesses who need it. And then on the product side, we continue to create different ways, and partnering with Shopify on many of them, especially on our Facebook and Instagram shops tool. We consistently try to figure out what is going to make a small business's experience and their customers' experience easier online. We launched a State of Small Business report about a month ago and saw that there was a trend of about 51% of small businesses across the country have transitioned most of their operations online, and 36% have transitioned completely online. And I guarantee at this point that's almost an outdated stat. And so we are continuing to just ideate and figure out what is it that small businesses need. So whether it's using stickers to create and grow awareness for supporting small business, whether it's the products themselves, which I would love to go into in detail later on, frameworks like Businesses Nearby or other, we're really transitioning and listening to the small business community and what they need so that we can help with this pivot.
Cool, thank you very much. And then Jeremy or Roberto, if you want to jump in.
I'll let Jeremy. Okay, I'll jump in. So yeah, I want to echo Diana's note. As part of the Grow with Google team, we kind of did the same thing when we had these national events across the United States. We called them library tours. They were very cool. We were wanting to hit all 50 states of the United States to bring Google to you as opposed to you going to Google. And really, we work with local partners, local small business organizations to bring Google, humanize the brand, and really help you grow your small business experience. As a result of the current challenging times, we pivoted to online training, and we have amazing tools available to each and every one of us who have a Gmail account. So one of the things that we just rolled out back in April was Google Meet. And Google Meet, very specific, it's not meet, it's meet. They drilled us on that. Google Meet is a free platform that allows everyone to have free webinar capabilities without a cost. So as long as you have a Gmail account, you're able to go online and work remotely and do video conferencing for up to 25 people at no cost. Now, if you want to host larger events, larger webinars, if you enter into the enterprise service called G Suites, you could get up to 250 people on your webinar. With regards to actual tools besides Google Meet, what we're realizing is there's a lot of need to expand our programming, which was really exciting to announce that earlier this week, our CEO came down and said, hey, we want to invest into a specific program that I am part of called the Google Digital Coaches Program. And the Google Digital Coaches Program is really meant to help diverse business leaders, right? Specifically right now, when there's a lot of challenging times, understanding the need to go online and use e-commerce to really leverage those platforms to be able to sell where your prospective customer is now. As you were mentioning, Max, the local restaurant is now competing against Uber Eats. And so how do we make sure we level that playing field and bridge that digital divide? And one of the responses is, let's grow out this small team of digital coaches across the United States. We're in now 12 different markets to have a local micro-focused engagement strategy where we host with local partners like yourself and like chambers of commerce, like nonprofit organizations, like SBDCs to bring Google to the small business entrepreneur, specifically minority. And it's something that's near and dear to us. I host about 5 to 7 different webinars a given month. And it's all meant to help empower the small business community so they could know that we're here to help at no cost, which is the best part.
Yeah, it's always nice when things are free. Jeremy, do you have anything to add with regards to like the tools and platforms you all are using at Microsoft to help small businesses?
Yeah, definitely. So, along with a lot of what they've been sharing, is we have moved many of the resources that you either found in person or online. We've made them even more available with live webinars. We know that you can learn from watching a video, but it helps so much to ask a question and get a response. And that's one of the things that we've definitely taken advantage of over this time, is using our products to show how you can leverage those things. So with similar to what Google's done with Meet, we have Teams. We've made Teams available 100% for free to all users. And we've included free trials of Office, because we know at this time, we don't want you worrying about, how do I afford to do this? We want to make sure that you're able to do these things because you have other things that are much more pressing now. When it comes to the trainings, the retail stores are a driving factor behind that. We have locations across the US, and a lot of the design behind those retail stores when they first came out in 2009 was, we knew that the small business customer was underserved. When we think of Microsoft, we tend to think of large companies and they're supporting the large enterprise customers and things like that, and we forget that these small businesses need those tools as well. So with what we call now Microsoft 365, you probably know it as Office 365. We have a tendency to change names and confuse things a little bit. We got to fix that marketing, but it's now called Microsoft 365. It gives you the same tools that your enterprise competitors have. We want to make sure that you have access to the same types of tools they have. And then we want to make sure beyond that, I'm in a sales role, and one of the most frustrating things to me is when I see things that are purchased and not used. So I love spending the time, and we have a team dedicated to spending time to make sure that you're using and enjoying and loving these things, and they're improving your business.
Yeah, actually, I didn't know that Microsoft Teams was offering that now, so that's really cool. I guess like from the point of view of a business that hasn't gone online yet, like how do you all recommend they get started? Like what's the first step basically?
Yeah, I'd like to jump right in there. We have GMB, Google My Business. So one of the coolest things that we provide to small businesses that is completely free is our Google My Business platform. It's a business listings, so that it can be found on the Google search engine. And this allows you to be able to register with Google and be able to be found on the Google search engine. And we're developing a lot of capabilities on that platform to help small businesses be able to not just go online, but sell online. So one of the functionalities that we created is a free microsite. So you could create your own website. Even if you don't have a website, we'll even give you a free domain. Might not be the cleanest domain name, but it's completely free. And it's a one-page microsite. We also provide you some capability to be able to set up scheduling. So if you want to schedule out your meetings, one-on-one meetings, you can do that. We have, for those of us who've been marketing and have used Google Ads, for those individuals who've used Google Ads in the past, last year, we're providing free credit for those businesses. A lot of my partners just got credits earlier this month, actually, so that's pretty cool. And on top of that, we've been able to update notifications and give you the capability of, if you're temporarily closing because of the current pandemic, you can definitely notify your prospective customers about that. And as we're moving forward in the new world and the world is opening up now, we've actually been able to allow small businesses to edit and amend their Google My Business. And we've set up a new training to help them get online and re-engage with the world. So a lot of interesting bells and whistles over Google My Business. It's completely free to everyone that's interested in setting up their business. And it takes you maybe 10 minutes to set up. So that's always good news.
No, that's really cool to know. I actually didn't know that either. So learn something new every day. Yeah, Diana, if someone was interested in selling on Facebook, like what's a good first step?
Absolutely. And so there, I also wanted to underscore that the majority of our products are free,
Yeah.
especially our trainings. And as you look to set up your shops. And so you, depending on where you are in your literacy with Facebook and Instagram and our other platforms, we have something called our Business Resource Hub, which is something that we created at the height of, in the beginning of the COVID crisis, knowing that so many businesses were going to look to go online. And so if you go to facebook.com/business, you'll be able to see our Business Resource Hub. On there, you will find the best of tips and tools and trainings, really elementary information on how to get online, how to use our platforms. You'll also have some sector by sector guides and a resiliency toolkit. So really allowing us to give you the tools to use our tools and platforms to help you sustain throughout this time. And then we have some free curriculum on there through our educational resource platform, Blueprint, which is a digital marketing course essentially. And so not only will all of these steps help you walk through how to set up your Facebook page, how to start a shop, or how to use businesses nearby, or any of our other products, but it will also allow you to keep up with the most up-to-date products and savvy as it comes to using our platforms.
Actually, I was just curious, could you speak a little more about the did you call it a resiliency audit, or
It's a resilient, yes, it's a resiliency toolkit. And so lots goes into that. So there is a checklist to making sure that you are set up correctly. So going from, are you communicating, and this is just simple, good hygiene when it comes to operating your business, making sure that you're effectively communicating with your customers, with your employees. Are you prepared with your most up-to-date cybersecurity preparations? Obviously, with so many of us moving online, cybersecurity is something that's incredibly important to all of us. And then again, it's really how to use our tools to help communicate and leverage your business at this same time.
Gotcha. And yeah, Jeremy, that was actually something that you brought up yesterday when we were meeting to prep for this talk. It was just security. I was just curious, like, if you could also touch on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. When we think about moving everyone from the building to wherever they are, that involves a lot of moving parts. That we know that small businesses, if were a standard brick and mortar, and everyone came to work and did work within those walls, they may not have been set up for the things like running in the cloud. If we quickly made a shift, and we saw this in the device hardware world, we saw in March sort of a run on laptops. If you tried to buy a laptop in March, you probably found it was very hard to do because those devices were very quickly purchased. And part of that was that we needed to now have devices outside of the building. And there's a lot of security concerns with that. Using the cloud is a concern. Now devices not connected and joined to our networks, or even in many cases, we're asking our employees to put device policy on there, and they're not an IT professional, but they're learning how to do some of these things. So we definitely have had to look at new ways to help make sure that those things are easier to understand and implement. And that's part of when I mentioned the change in the name from Office 365 to Microsoft 365, that's actually part of the strategy behind that, is moving from just the Office products that are on your existing device to really helping you now learn how to manage and make sure that that device is safe, because it might not be connected in the way it had in the past. So there's lots of tools, and this is across the industry. We're seeing this with multi-factor authentication. I do a vast majority of my work on my phone. I was having internet connection issues earlier, and now I'm connected to my phone. So we know that we have to be able to manage how that data goes. We have to manage how that works using.
Sorry to interrupt. I was just curious if you could clarify what you said. You said policies. Just for the crowd, if you could clarify what you meant by that, that'd be great.
Yeah, get a little less techie and less nerdy there. So when we look at how we access data, In the past, we probably connected to something locally inside of the building, so the device was already prepared and set up to do these things. It's like having a mailbox in your apartment complex, or like where you go to get the mail and you know it's going to be there. When we start to look at how do we now do that in a remote environment, and data is being shared in new ways, we have to make sure that the device has the ability to protect the data, because the data is the most important piece there. In small businesses, when there's a data breach, 60% of small businesses will go out of business within 1 year due to one data breach. The average time for a small business to find a data breach is 30 days. So think about the impact that can have within 30 days. So finding tools that can help us be aware of those things quicker is really important, but also finding tools that can help make sure it doesn't happen to begin with is really key. And that happens at a device level in most cases.
Got it. Yeah, and that's your customers' data. So that's absolutely key to maintaining your business and the trust people have in the business. Yeah. Yeah. And this is actually pertaining to just your culture, and also so internally and externally. Like, how has your communication practices changed? Obviously, webcams are sold out now, but we're doing our best with what we have. But like, are there like some etiquette practices that have changed for y'all? If anyone wants to jump in, yeah, feel free.
I'll jump in here. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, because I work with a wide variety of small businesses who have never done this before, so they're learning new things. If you watch Hulu, you've probably seen over and over the progressive commercials where they have like their weird little video chats going, and they're highlighting a lot of those things that we've probably all seen happen. Where two people start to talk at the same time. And if that happens in a face-to-face environment, it's easy to navigate. When it happens over the internet, there's a delay sometimes in the audio, or the audio cuts out, things like that start to happen. So we have to learn how to kind of manage those things and learn to be okay. And I think grace is a big tool we've all come to understand, and being really gracious and knowing that we're working from home, and that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Some of us have our pets that it's lunchtime and that pet wants its food and that cat's meowing and that happens. And for me, it's kids. They're trying to learn, and they've got a question on their math homework, and they don't care. They're coming through that door. So we've had to learn a lot of different ways to be able to navigate those things, and we've actually built some of that stuff into the product. If you use Microsoft Teams and many other things, it's available on Zoom. Hand raising. So a simple tool that's been built into these to raise your hand and say, hey, I have something I'd like to share, and then you don't have to feel like you're going to cut over somebody else. I would guess many of us have been on more video calls in the last 3 months than we had in our entire life. We are all relying on text and chat functionalities and things like that more than we ever have, especially for work. And then we're also having to co-author and collaborate on documents in new ways. And really the cloud is what's made all of that possible. And being able to work on the same document from anywhere in the world, being able to communicate, knowing that we can send a message through Teams or through Facebook or any of those things, and be able to get to our colleagues and friends. So there's been a lot of changes in that regard, and I think it's really great to see the way we've been able to leverage technology for these.
Yeah, we're quite adaptable, and I think we're learning the virtue of patience and, as you said, grace. Yeah, Diana and Roberto, I was just wondering, like, how's it changed for you? Have there been any surprises on your end when it comes to communication?
I think we're all communicating a lot more frequently, even though, the water cooler talk and all of that is incredibly valuable. But I feel like I'm relatively new to the role. I've been with Facebook almost 10 months, which is a long period of time, but still, I was only in the role for about 4 months before we all started going from home. But I'm getting to know my colleagues and working with them a lot more closely than I think I would have than I had the chance in in person, because we're all traveling and we're all moving around and we're all digital, you know, and a lot of video conferences to begin with. Facebook does have our own hardware. It's called Portal, and our own functionality called Workplace. And it's worked really, really well for us as a company in being able for us to manage manage our communications. Although today there was a slight bug where my head was completely sideways, and found it to be a little distracting. And so I needed to, you know, we all need to deal with these little hiccups here and there, because we as much as I work at a tech company, I'm a complete Luddite. And so we all just need to kind of, you know, roll with the punches. But that's also kind of where, you know, Facebook has adapted and created messenger rooms that allows up to 50 people to be in the same type of video conferencing chat room to solve that problem, to connect people a little bit more. And again, it's allowed us to get a little bit more creative on how we all work together. And I think it's also increased our empathy, kind of around what Jeremy was saying. We all understand that everyone has stuff going on, and we can't really escape. We're all right here. And you know,
we're in the same boat. Yeah.
Exactly, and we're all here to serve our companies, and we believe in what we do, and glad to serve this role, especially helping small businesses. But there's an increased sense of empathy amongst our colleagues as well. So it's been nice working with our colleagues this way.
Yeah, I generally agree for sure. And I know, Roberto, you touched on using, you know, opening up Google Meet for businesses and pretty much everyone. I was just wondering if there were other experiences you've had that you could share.
Yeah, so we have a really cool program called On Air Live, and that through Google, Grow with Google, which we slacked or we messaged earlier. And you'd be surprised, we actually spent some time, I wouldn't call it empathy training, but I would definitely say it's definitely training to be more in touch with your community as they're going through these transition periods. We don't have all the answers, and that's okay. We need to be sensitive towards their journey and what they're going through. So we internally have created some internal documents on how to better communicate to our prospective members when we're working with them internally and externally, specifically externally when it comes to small businesses, understanding how to present the best you. We even have documentation on how to have the proper lighting, proper mics, proper video, because we want to create as seamless of an experience as possible. And once we actually get to engage with our small business owners, diverse business owners, how we can not necessarily know it all or have all the answers, but say, hey, we're going through this together through a journey. So that was a very cool experience that happened a couple months ago. And these on-air trainings is really around how are we there for the community based on the feedback you guys are providing us. So I'm sure all the companies here do a great job in having a feedback loop. We very much pride ourselves in having surveys every single time we do a webinar. We want to get feedback. We want to know what worked and what didn't work to make sure we pivot the products and create better understanding of the products. And this goes back to making sure that everyone has a voice when we do create these products. One of the things that I pride the work that Google does is that our product team always reaches out to the Google Digital Coaches program, specifically for understanding the different segments of the small business population, not just the general market. Even when I say general market, I mean small business general market, which can be a nuance. But yeah, it's hey, we want to get them to try out new products and services that are outside the general small business market. So can we get diversity included so that we have a holistic perspective on the type of devices, products, and services that we're creating for our communities? And I really pride myself in being able to say that. The other thing is when it comes to creating that cloud computing, I think Jeremy hit it on the head. We even created a response to working remotely. So we have a training now that allows you to understand how to use our free tools and services, the Google Cloud, Google Drive specifically, and how to use and co-op some of those contents or documents that you're creating with your external team, how to set up meetings, how to use Google Meet, how to use all these other really cool free applications that it sounds like all of us on this chat have to be able to create a seamless experience with our small business owners, as well as with them and their members, regardless of what they're at. Because now it's more important than ever to be able to communicate with your team, regardless if you're at home, if you're at the office, or a combination of the two.
It's really cool that y'all, it seems like your companies are also documenting everything and making them accessible for everyone, which is really cool. And what's also cool is that you all talk to small businesses and different, a whole variety of people every day. I guess I was just curious, like, what are some of the common challenges or things that people can avoid when they're moving to this digital first environment? Like, what's a common theme, I guess? Oh, Roberto, I think you're muted. Sorry.
So what you see is
There you
a need for technical assistance training.
go. Okay.
And what I mean by that is not just the webinars, not just providing this information and walking them through. Part of the job that we have as digital coaches is to provide one-on-one meetings with certain members of our community to show them, here's how you implement your Google Analytics, here's how you go about setting that up. But I'm very excited for things to come. I think all of our companies are realizing the need to be more hands-on. And so that has been a direct response to what we're getting back from our community is, hey, this is great stuff. And I think the other thing is meeting them where they are, not just having them come to us. I think that's been a really big experience from our side is what kind of partners can we reach out to? What kind of partners have historically not been included in the digital process and meeting them where they are, because that's important to us as well. We can't just sit back and let them come to us. We need to go to them. So that feedback loop has been very informative from our standpoint. And I think one of the things that we stress a lot internally is make sure you document everything. Make sure we even love testimonials. When we have our webinars, we ask them, would you like to do a testimonial? Would you like to talk about what worked, what didn't work, just so that we understand how to humanize that process and what works and what doesn't work for them, not for us.
Yeah, exactly. And Diana or Jeremy, if you want to chime in with your experiences, that'd be fantastic.
I couldn't agree more
Yeah.
with the thing of here we go. But I couldn't agree more with the phrasing of meeting them where they are, meeting people where they are. That's it's a luxury that we all have because we're so digital forward, that we can make sure that we are the ones bringing our tools and resources to people in whatever stage they are in digital literacy, and also obviously across the country and wherever they are. And so we really do focus on getting hyper local with advocacy organizations, those that support small businesses as well as the small businesses themselves. We want to make sure that we are consistently listening to and addressing the concerns of small business. So couldn't agree more that Roberto, with what Roberto said in terms of trainings and resources and the technical assistance of making sure that people have the information and also have it in an accessible way. We can host as many full day trainings as we want, but knowing that people are caring for kids, their family, trying to run their business, and every other stress that an individual is going through at this moment, we want to make sure that we give the most accessibility and allowing for time changes or for small businesses to take these trainings and courses or anything else on their own terms. And then the other thing I would say in terms of what we're hearing most, and this is a common refrain from small businesses, is access to capital. I know many of my colleagues and peers who are up on this panel have dedicated funds towards small businesses, especially during this crisis. We certainly have. We committed $100 million to the small business community at this offset or the beginning of COVID, and we just recently launched a $200 million commitment to Black-owned small businesses as well as nonprofits and Black creators as well. And so again, making sure that we're reaching folks exactly in their needs and with the technical and the other assistance where we can.
Cool. Thank you so much. Jeremy, if you want to comment on what you've seen, that'd be fantastic as well.
Yeah, listening is a very important part of that theme. And our CEO, Satya Nadella, when he first moved into his role in 2014, one of the things he wanted to change first at Microsoft was our ability to listen. If anybody that had a PC in the 2000s knows very much we did it our way, and you bought it and you liked it, or you went and got an
feedback. Yes. So we learned very much in that. In one of his quotes, and I'll paraphrase because I probably will mess it up, was that we want to be a company that is willing to learn it all, not a company that knows it all. And we've turned on so many listening tools within our products. There's a quick feedback in usually the bottom left corner of almost every product you're using. And beyond just letting them share that feedback, one of our collaborative and communication tools, Microsoft Teams, in that feedback, you can actually see and vote on features that you would like to see improved or added. So it's more than just listening, it's really engaging in the conversation and allowing that voice not just to be shared, but really heard. In the world that I work with in the IT, and I work directly with a lot of IT departments for medium and even larger businesses, a very common term we hear, and it's a term that was thrown around Microsoft in the past, was, well, that's not the way we've always done it. And that's a very big roadblock. And we know that in order for us to innovate, we have to be able to listen. Diana mentioned capital as a big hurdle right now. Microsoft has also made those resources available. So we have startups, which is an initiative part of Microsoft. So startups.microsoft.com. So there is resources there, grants and things like that to the small business community. And then again, the resources of making sure you're able to use our products and learn how to use our products in a meaningful way. So if you go to our support page, which is support.office.com, there's snack size videos, not these big long, let's watch how to learn, use Excel, and we're going to spend 2 hours doing so. They're very quick, right? How do I do this one feature that I really want to learn? And we've made that very easy to use. And then also, we don't just steer you to our tools to do that. We have those all on YouTube, other platforms, to make sure that if you're someone that's never going to go to Microsoft.com and try to navigate that website, you might go to YouTube and you might find those videos there. And really sharing resources where our customers go to find those things.
Yeah, and I think offering a variety of different ways to take in that data, that information, is really important. So videos, documentation, or being proactive, as you all said. And actually, Diana, you touched on this a bit, but I was wondering if y'all could comment on like what commitments have you all made with regards to diversity, inclusion, and equity. And whoever wants to jump in, feel free.
I'm already off mute, so I'll go.
Go.
We actually, and it is very fresh in mind because our company made a public stance just yesterday afternoon. We've created a resource that's available that can walk you through all of the program that Microsoft has designed for that. It is aka.ms, and then it's /addressing injustice. And there we discuss our plans, not only within our internal culture and what we can do inside of our walls, if you will, to address these things, but how do we also hold our vendors and our supply chain accountable? How do we make sure that the people that we work with believe and honor the values that we do? What are we doing to engage inside of that ecosystem? We've over the next 3 years, we plan to spend $500 million across initiatives for diversity and inclusion. If you are someone that follows the DACA Supreme Court case that was overturned last week, Microsoft was one of the organizations that actually brought that suit to the Supreme Court. So it is something that we definitely have, not just we don't share our opinion on it, we actually had our legal team involved in bringing that to the Supreme Court. So there's a lot of things in there about that. And then what are we doing in our local communities? And this is really about the small businesses, right? And they're the ones that are engaged at a local level in there. So initiatives for nonprofits and making more offerings available to them for education, making sure that the schools are part of our Microsoft TILS program so that we can take technology professionals and get them into these schools so that students can learn about these at a young age and realize that there are individuals who look like them and represent them in the Black and African American community in Los Angeles, in the Latino community, making sure that we have representatives to show that technology can be available to them as a career, and really making sure that they feel comfortable and learn that at that age of about 12, where we start to see the drop off, especially from our female students. We know that at age 12 there is a sharp decline in interest in the STEM fields. So we have programs designed and a commitment over the next several years to drive those as well. And then I wanted to share one thing, because we do have an event that we're hosting. It's an LA-based event from the local Microsoft Store team. There's an event at 5 p.m. today. If you go to our local store's website, it's an easier one. It's aka.ms/ccity. There's an event today as well that is for Pride, as well as some of our local resources that are available there.
Yeah, and I liked what you were saying with regards to like dealing with anti-Black racism, even from the supply chain. It's really cool that you all are looking at all aspects of that system. Diana or Roberto, would you like to chime in?
I'm happy to continue. As I mentioned, so last Thursday we made a couple of announcements as how we're supporting diversity and Black-owned businesses and Black-owned entrepreneurs and nonprofits. So we have committed $200 million in grants and support to Black-owned businesses, nonprofits, and Black creators. We've created something called a portal called Lift Black Voices, where we're able to highlight Black entrepreneurs and Black stories. We're also incredibly committed to the supplier diversity piece, as Jeremy mentioned, and we've committed about $1.1 billion over the next couple of years. And this is actually something that we had started with, I believe it was last year, but we just hadn't made it public. And we wanted to make sure that it's more of a continuing support and continuing initiative that we've had. On Juneteenth, we made sure that the company had a almost full day of education and listening in programming when it comes to making sure that we're all connected and learning from one another and listening to one another as it pertains to creating that culture and how we all work together and externally. We do continue to support the community, and we look forward to working with our partners up here to continue as much as we can.
Yeah, and I like what you said about like having it be a continuing commitment, and education for everybody. Roberto, would you like to add to that?
I'd love to. So last Wednesday, our CEO Sundar came out and announced a $175 million economic opportunity package for business owners, startup founders, job seekers, and developers. And additionally, I love that Jeremy talked about YouTube. We also invested $100 million to fund and amplify Black creators and artists. It's extremely important to have content creators, specifically on the video side, to represent our communities of color. And so we can break that down into different sections, like $50 million on financial and grants for small businesses, $100 million on Black firms and startups, $15 million in training and partnering with the National Urban League to help job seekers. So it's multi-tiered. It's not just going into small business, but a variation of different diverse business groups that have a vested interest in bringing that community back into the fold and helping them scale and have a vested interest in their future. So it's something that we pride ourselves in. The actual program that I am part of started in the diversity inclusion team within Google, and just recently moved over the past year into small business. And so this commitment has been going on for 10 years, and we I shout out to Christian Teal, which was the visionary of this program. He's a director within Google that runs diversity and inclusion. Just done an amazing job making sure that everyone's included. Our supplier diversity program, I think, is one of the best diversity supplier programs in the nation, if not the world. And I don't say that. It's the investment that he has into making sure all small businesses can not just get the tools they need to scale and grow, but we want to be able to source those small businesses into whatever needs that we have that Google has as a company.
Yeah, and you were talking about how you have to address it at all levels, and like at Shopify, this is something that our leadership is looking into. So, like us as support staff, we're technically still called Shopify Gurus, which has a good intention, and was meant to be inclusive, but actually doesn't really work that way. So the leadership is taking another look at that, which I think is outstanding. And actually, we have a few more minutes, and if anyone has any questions in the chat, like feel free to chime in. We'll try to answer those as they come in.
Well, I was just going to add on to exactly, Max, what
Yeah.
you said, and going off of what Roberto and Jeremy said, especially when it goes back to meeting people where they are. You know, as part of our commitments and all of ours, we have a long-standing commitment of, again, supporting small businesses and training them and getting them online. And we've recently also announced that we're dedicated to training and reaching 2 million members of the Black and Latinx community in terms of our trainings and making sure that they are well equipped to make that transition in every way that they can. We also have a program called Elevate, which has been around for a couple of years, but really, again, with the dedication to meeting Black and Latinx and diversity communities and small businesses where they are, and catered and tailored to the programming to them.
And it's cool because it sounds like you're using data to support those initiatives as well. So, yeah.
And Max, I'd just like to plug in and give a shout out to Elaine and BIZCON Exchange. They do an amazing job bringing diversity inclusion into the program. They're part of the LA Chamber, but they do an excellent job with technical assistance training, and they look to diversify and have not just small business owners, but advisors who represent their LA community. So shout out to the work that they're doing. Great partners.
Absolutely. And actually, we do have a question in the chat from Sharon. How are you investing in supplier development to forward inclusivity? Are you prepared to do business with Black organizations that are entrenched in supporting existing small businesses? I don't know if anyone wants to jump in on that. So I guess it's supplier
I can go ahead and
development.
share.
Yeah.
One of the commitments that we've had is to doubling the number of Black and African American owned approved suppliers over the next 3 years, and that $500 commitment is directly to those existing and new suppliers within that. So that's a big part of that. And then obviously, if you want to see more detail into that, go ahead and head to, I don't know, I added into the chat here, the link, but that is the overall commitment. And then there's obviously more detail in there on that plan.
Got it. Cool.
I'll just drop the link on the chat. Please apply. The more diversity we have, and I don't remember the talking points because we're no longer part of that team. So I won't say something that's not true, but I will recommend that everyone that's a diversity supplier program wants to be part of the Google program. It's very easy to apply and it's very straightforward. So I just linked it at the chat, in the chat.
That's really cool. Yeah. And let's see. I think that's about it with regards to questions. Let's do a final round though. Is there anything else you all want to add? Yeah, go ahead, Diana.
I see that the chat is disabled. I don't know if that's for everyone else, but I am unable to put in a question.
Oh, sorry about that.
Go ahead, Diana. Go ahead, Dana, I mean.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if we could get a takeaway sheet with all of the links. Could we get a like a takeaway sheet with all the links to the groups and programs that were mentioned?
Yeah, this video is actually being recorded, and so it'll be shared out, and then all the links will be posted alongside the video.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Great. All right. Yeah, any other questions? Feel free to post them in the chat. I think we have a couple more minutes, so.
All right. Okay, so if you guys have any more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. In the meanwhile, too, I want to remind you that on Excel events, if you guys go under people, you can look up all the speakers and you can actually connect with them. So that way they can follow up with you if there's any particular things that you were looking very specifically, are looking to get more information on. I know there's a lot of information dropped in the chat. Max, you did a great job at getting us through all of this. I want to give a big shout out to Shopify too, because I know Max is being very gracious about talking about all of our great partners. But Shopify, especially for those of you that are in LA, are also doing a great job at connecting with all of the different business owners. I know we had an entire e-commerce series that was, led by Chris, who I think is also on the line, and they showed us how to get your business online. So for those of you that were that are brick and mortar, if you were trying to figure out how to get online, they were really great at helping businesses do that. And, in the process, integrating, how to use Google AdWords and how to use, the different Facebook tools and making sure that there's a marketplace, as well as utilizing some of the Microsoft tools to make sure that you're, being efficient with your time. And a lot of you guys are, solopreneurs, maybe duopreneurs. There's like one or two of you on your team, and so you're wearing, 17,000 hats. And so we just want to make sure that we're continuously helping you and, guiding you through this process. And so, as Roberto mentioned, I also want to make sure you guys know if anybody's interested in understanding how to, implement any of the tools that we're talking about today. We work really closely with everyone. Actually, we had a Microsoft Salon a couple weeks ago. We had a Facebook training a few weeks ago. We do a lot of Shopify webinars, and then we do a lot of different Google, like Grow My Business with Google webinars. And Roberto is very kind in sharing his time and making sure that he's available to talk to business owners. Prior to COVID, just so that everybody here knows, BIZCON Exchange was already on wheels, and so we were already meeting, people where they were at. We were traveling to you guys to make it a little bit easier. So, now with everybody being remote, it's starting to kind of, just spread a little bit more. But if there's any other questions, right, make sure that you guys connect with our speakers. If not, I'm going to show you guys a couple more things before you go so you know what's next, because it's important for you guys to know what's happening today, tomorrow, so you can join us. So,
well, thank you so much, Elaine. I just want to make a quick plug. So if you want to seek out those Shopify LA resources, just visit us at la.shopify.com, and you can see what we offer in terms of virtual appointments and workshops.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to thank our panelists, Diana, Jeremy, and Roberto. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll hand it back to you, Elaine.
Thank you so much, Max, and thank you everybody for joining us again. I want to thank all of our panelists, Max, Roberto, Diana, Jeremy. Thank you for rolling with the punches. I know sometimes tech can be a little challenging, and so being gracious and being adaptable is always key. So thank you so much for joining us today. And so for those of you, what's next? There's an expo hall. So if you guys go through the expo, you'll be able to check out all of our different vendors. A lot of our panelists have booths where you can get more information, get more questions answered. There's also a networking portion where you can chat with people one-on-one, right, and get to connect with people. Make sure you visit our chamber booths. We have our chamber booth, our BIZCON Exchange booth, where our team will be able to answer more questions, as well as Southern California Leadership Network. So if you guys are interested in a little bit more information of what different programs available at the chamber, just make sure you visit our booths. And once again, we just want to thank all of our sponsors for making today possible and for bringing you guys all of these great speakers, and just making sure that we're staying connected in this socially distanced time still. So I want to say thank you to everybody, and if you have any additional questions, make sure you connect with us. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.